Marvels Avengers is shutting down in a few months. I've made 2 videos on Avengers, both of them were very critical, but with Avengers shutting down, they've decided to make everything free in the marketplace. Everything, and I mean everything. It's kind of mad how much content they did actually put in terms of cosmetics, not actual content, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? But like I said in my first ever Avengers video, it's one of the most confusing and generic action games I've ever played. But going back to it, I can't lie, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun, but it's kind of not. Let me explain. Now, to clarify, I should say I've played a decent chunk of it, but I've mainly played the end game and just skipped the story because I've already played the story, you know what I mean? And all my characters, they got reset and stuff. I don't know what happened. Everyone was zero apart from Black Panther. So, you know, screw it. I've just played the end game. Anyway, before I get started, let me know what you think about Avengers in the comments. Have you played it before? Are you ever going to play it now that it's shutting down? Or do you play it on Game Pass? What do you do? What do you think of it? So, my main talking point is going to be the free stuff because they've made everything free in the marketplace. I've already talked about the story in the previous videos. You can go to the previous videos. I'm sorry about the mic quality, but hey, it is what it is. I started out. You know what I'm saying? So, the free stuff right now, it's pretty amazing how much they actually did put in. Obviously, like I said, it's not content. It's cosmetics. It's stuff for your characters to look a specific way. But the thing that amazes me is that so much of this is so cool, yet they locked it behind paywalls that kids would have to pay for, because mainly kids are going to be playing Avengers, you know what I mean? So I was always pissed off about that. I didn't want to support it, but the reality is now it's free, and you actually get to look at it and you get to see it in the menus without having to think about how much it's going to cost. You know what? A lot of the skins they added is actually really cool. Like, some of the skins I've never ever seen before, like ever in a game or like a comic or whatever, because I don't read many comics, if any, to be perfectly honest with you. I think I've read like 2 comics in my entire life. But a lot of the skins that I've seen for every single character was actually really cool. It just sucks that they locked it behind a paywall for the last 2 years, you know what I mean? If they made this stuff free, or at least put them in like expansion passes rather than battle passes or whatever they did, then I think a lot of people would have still played this game consistently over the years. Because it's not a bad game, you know what I mean? It's just really generic and average.
Look at that subtle off-white coloring. A tasteful thickness of it. Oh my god. It even has a watermark. Something wrong?
Now, along with all the cosmetic stuff, you get finishers. They locked finishers behind a paywall. I'm serious. They locked finishers behind a paywall. The one thing that could actually make your game feel fresh is finishers, especially if you have a ton of them, because you're not going to get the same one every single time. It could be a mix, you know? But they locked them behind a paywall. A paywall.
Julian!
A lot of the finishers are actually really cool, and every character's got like specific types of finishers, and they clearly put a lot of work into the animations. If there is one thing that I can like praise about Avengers the most, it's the animations. Okay, may not look the best, but the animations are smooth. They're pretty smooth, considering if everything works, because a lot of the time it doesn't. But with all that being said, that's just cosmetic stuff. I think you want to know if you should buy it or play it right now in 2023. So let's talk about the gameplay. So, I've talked about, you know, the mission design and everything in previous reviews, but I want to go a bit more in depth because I don't have to talk about the story here. So, the problem with the mission design in Avengers, okay, it's a generic, average game. Because a lot of the missions come down to go to this area, defend this area, go to this area, defend 3 different areas at the same time. Oh my god, there's a big boss. It's the same boss you fought for the 6th time in a row. Whoa! Only the difference is that every time you go to a new mission, there's different varieties of enemies. It's not variety, it's just a bunch of enemies that are slightly taller or slightly bigger than bigger than every other enemy in the game, and they have like shields, or they have cryo damage, or they have fire damage, you know? That really generic looter shooter stuff. I thought we were past that, like in 2018. Like Destiny 2 came out, they still did similar bits, but you know, it's a bit more varied, so everyone should nick from that. But nope, Avengers just came in and just said, you know what, we're just gonna do 2008 and 2009 and just slap it all together with the graphics of a 2012 game, you know what I mean? It's a bit weird. The biggest problem with the Avengers, I will talk positives in a minute, but the biggest problem with Avengers, it just has to be that it's doing too much. Crystal Dynamics took on a game that, to be perfectly honest with you, really was never going to work with the way they were designing it. Pick story with high quality cinematics like Naughty Dog, but they also wanted to be a looter shooter type game, and then you had I imagine you had Square Enix saying, well, we want to monetize this game, we want it to last years, so they had them in their back. And with all of that said, it doesn't matter, all of that did affect it, but you're creating a game that has to suit play styles of superheroes, not just one superhero, not just two Spider-Men like Miles Morales. You're doing 5 heroes at launch, and then you've got multiple other heroes after launch. The reality is, the way games are designed, I really don't think anyone can make a really good Avengers game, you know what I mean? That is like this, you know what I mean? Like a full cinematic, story-focused game where you could play it afterwards for hours and hours and hours. I just don't think it could be done realistically. Could it be done? I mean, I'm not a game developer, maybe I'm talking out my ass right now, but I do think doing an Avengers game at the scale that they wanted, it just wasn't going to work. However, I will say, and I can't believe I'm saying this, I did find myself enjoying it a little bit. I'm happy to say it, but the reality is it's still not a great game. I did find myself going towards 4 because 4 is pretty cool and he's probably the best character in the game because you can fly, you've got melee, you've got all of that stuff. Iron Man's a close second. And the gameplay itself, the combat, you know, I want to say it's good, but it's once again, it's just average. But the actual foundation of the game, it just isn't built for the amount of heroes that they have. Like Black Widow, you shoot guns. Captain America, you throw a shield. Iron Man, you shoot beams. Thor, you shoot your hammer. Hulk throws rocks. You know what I mean? It's clearly they're desperately trying to make the foundation work for every single hero, and that just doesn't. It's just not going to work that way. So unfortunately, yeah, while I did have fun with it, I don't know if I just don't know if you guys would. I don't know who you are, really, you know what I mean? I know if you're watching me and you've been watching me for a while, you know what kind of games I like, and you probably like the same games and you dislike the same games. So go off what I'm saying here, I had a decent time, okay? But that doesn't mean that it's worth spending 50 quid on, or 30 quid. I'd say the max you should spend on this, a tenner. It's being shut down. It's getting no support now. It's done. It's over. You get the story and you get the content that's in there right now. So, to be brutally honest with you, I just wish the monetization wasn't so just horribly implemented to trick kids into spending their mum and dad's money. You know what I mean? Because looking at it now that the content is free, there's a decent amount there. You know what I mean? And it's not passionately made, I don't think. But they do enough to keep my attention. Which, you know, is obviously the bare minimum, but, you know, the minimum is the minimum. There's a reason there's a minimum. That's the acceptable minimum amount, and, you know, to me that's acceptable. So, I just wish that Square Enix would have got their act together and let Crystal Dynamics actually do what they wanted to do, because I don't think Crystal Dynamics wanted a live service game. I think they wanted a story game, and, you know, business has got a business, you know what I mean? So, it is what it is. Anyway, leave your comments down below. What do you think? Do you agree with my take on the Avengers right now? Have you even played it before? Do you plan to play it when it's, you know, shut down? You could get it for like 2 quid. Let me know. I want to know. It's been a while since I've done a video. Sorry about that. But here we are. Watch Dogs review. I swear to God, it is coming soon. It's coming soon. I've got all the footage. I've got like 140 gigabytes of footage, okay? It's coming. It's not going to sit there anymore. I've got to delete it eventually, okay? Alright, cheerio. Have a good night.